In this moment, now is all that exists. That second that just went past, it's gone forever. Were you present for it? Life is made up of many moments that are never to be repeated. But we also live in an age of distraction where everything around us is trying to take our attention and sap our energy. So how can we stay more present in this wonderful thing called life? How do I make the most of today? Whether we're engaging in a one-on-one conversation with a loved one or a friend, or having a meeting with a colleague, studying, reading, trying to absorb information, or deeply focused on a task at hand, or interacting in a social context, our quality of life is directly affected by how much attention we're able to pay in every moment. Not all seconds are equal, and every day there are opportunities to connect, opportunities to grow, to achieve our dreams, and I don't want to miss one of them. So let's get going. I'm going to share with you some tools that have helped me to stay present in the moment, and I hope they'll do the same for you. First up, put away that smart device. This is my first point for a reason. Have you ever noticed a table at a restaurant with a bunch of people gathered around it and nobody is interacting with one another and everyone is glued to their smartphones, probably sitting on social media, watching everybody else living their life? There's no judgment here. I've caught myself doing it. And the key is to be aware of when we've allowed our attention to be diverted elsewhere. If you want to stay distracted, check your phone every time a notification comes in, or every time it vibrates or beeps or whatever it does. And this extends to smartwatches too. I had a friend who would virtually disappear in front of me mid-conversation because a notification came in on his watch. He'd get this glazed over expression where I would know that he had exited this conversation. And ultimately, it left me with a feeling of wanting to share less with him. If you feel the need to respond right away to every message or answer every call, even when you're busy, ask yourself why. Is it a fear-based response? Am I afraid that someone will be upset with me or feel disappointed because I don't respond right away or answer that call immediately? I remember quite some years ago when I was quite fearful of a leader in my church, and whenever she would phone, even if I was at the dinner table, I would answer the call. Not because that is what I wanted to do, but out of fear of her reaction if I didn't take the call. It was an unhealthy reaction and indeed a fear-based response. I have learned to protect my attention at all costs so that I can give it completely over to that person or that activity that I am busy with in that present moment. Attention is the most important thing we can give. For bonus points, take that smartphone and go through your notifications. Turn off non-essential items. Every app you install on your phone wants to give you notifications. For the most part, it is not necessary to get instant push notifications from every single app installed. You'll probably find, like me, in reality, there's very few notifications that you really need right now. Next up, we have to get out of our heads. If I'm worried and distracted by something that hasn't even happened yet, or maybe something that has already happened, I won't be present because either my headspace is in the past or it's in the future. So my body may be in the present, but my head is stuck with cares and concerns and worry. And so my soul, which is my mind, my will, my emotions, will not be present. Anxiety is a thief because it robs us of the joy of now. Here's how I deal with it. First, I must identify what I'm anxious about or what has consumed my mind. Then, once I can identify it, I have to remind myself, if it's something that's already happened, there's no changing it. No amount of worrying is going to affect the past. And likewise, if something hasn't happened yet, no amount of worry is going to change the future outcome. The only result of my worry is that it's going to steal from the present. And if after all of that, if the thought is still bugging me, I will grab my journal and I will write it down so that I've taken it out of my mind and onto paper. And as a bonus tip, I can take that thought and chuck it away. And then once I've managed to get out of my head, to stay in the now, I focus on the sights, the smells, the sounds around me. I can look around, the beauty of nature, or smell the coffee, listen to the birds in the distance, or play some music that feeds my soul. Give yourself permission to stop worrying and to focus your energy on this moment. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." That's pretty solid advice right there. As a side note, albeit a crucial one, past trauma also keeps us in our heads and can keep our bodies trapped in the emotions of the past. I don't know anyone personally that hasn't experienced some type of trauma in their lives. And dealing with my stuff with a professional has been life-changing. And it takes bravery to do the work. And it's worth it because you are worth it. Something vital with staying present with another person is to practice actively listening. Really listen to that person you're having the conversation with when they're speaking. So often while someone else is talking, it's very natural to be listening to form a response. And that is very different from listening to actually understand what is being said. We can get so caught up trying to formulate a response in our mind that we actually miss what is really being said. And when I feel that desire to interrupt someone, I remind myself, hey, it's their turn. Active listening is a skill that's really good to foster, where you focus on what the other person is saying, and then you affirm what they've said by repeating it in your own words, in your own understanding. This helps the other person to feel validated and affirmed, while also making sure that you've understood what they are saying correctly. And if not, they are also able to clarify so that you can be on the same page. And by focusing on active listening, it's a great tool to make sure that I'm staying in the present moment, in the now, and that my thoughts are not drifting elsewhere. How often has it been when you're talking with someone and you can tell that very moment when they have left the building and their thoughts are elsewhere? Please let me know in the comments if this video is useful to you. I would love to hear your tips and tricks of how you stay in the now. Another great way of staying in the present is to meditate. Now, this doesn't mean putting on some ancient Tibetan sounds and clanging gongs, but it can. So I mentioned earlier about focusing on sights and smells and sounds. Sometimes the best way I get back into the present is to focus on my breathing. Breathing is the most natural and automatic thing that our bodies do. And there is just something profound about observing the breath filling up my lungs and then each breath being released. It centers my focus into that very moment that I'm taking that breath, and it gives me an opportunity to be thankful for every breath, which ties me into my last point, and a very important one, is to be thankful. Being thankful is truly an art form, because no matter what your circumstances, there is always an opportunity to find something to be grateful for to hook us back into the present. If I get stuck in traffic, it's a pretty good time to start practicing gratitude. I thank God for my health, for the people in my life that I love and that love me, for having food on the table. Cultivating gratitude helps to shift our focus. It may feel unnatural at first, but I found the more that I do it, the more I am rewiring my brain away from worry and anxiety and towards thankfulness, gratitude, and being present. When we become more present, we're able to follow our dreams and to set new goals for ourselves to achieve. Watch this video next to help you get started today on your dream.